Hey y'all, welcome to Recover by Christ. It's me, Jay. Wanted to talk to you today and just really kind of hit a vein that has become a staple to me. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm a member of the substance abuse recovery community, have been for 8 grateful years, and it's produced a real work in me. And not just, I don't drink anymore, but I've also applied these spiritual principles into my nature, and it changes how I function. And I look around my peers in the Christian community, those dads in their 30s, the husbands in their 30s, and I'm learning that we've kind of set a plateau in the culture of America that you're going to reach levels where you get to coast from then on. For example, in high school, you're always working towards college, and in college, you're always working towards your job. And once you get your job, that actually kind of stops your growth and your progress, and you actually begin to do what's required to progress in the corporate ladder per se. Maybe you do what it takes to expand your field if you're a business owner, but the actual personal enrichment side of it is kind of gone. You're just doing what it takes to get the resume right, to get the next job, to nail that interview. And in the recovery community, we're actually taught something completely different, which is that it's a continued process. We never really stop growing and developing. And I think that really kind of butts heads with this mentality of like the American dream. I used to think like, okay, when's a good time to chill out? I've worked hard all week, Monday through Friday. I get to chill out on Saturday. But then when I get home on Saturday, there's like so many things that need done around the house. So it's like, okay, well, I'll do those on Saturday. Well, then Sunday comes and it's church day. And then we're back to Monday, and I'm like, I didn't get any chill time this week. And it used to frustrate me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to preach a burnout culture here. What I am trying to say is that our life is to live on a spectrum where every moment is contributing to our growth and development. And so, like, what is the goal of growth and development? The goal of growth and development is that I would grow tomorrow to be better than I was today. And some people would say, well, how do you stay motivated for growth and development? If it's every day is a different thing, right? Or is there a secret to kind of staying charged for that, even in the midst of what might be burnout? Because let's be honest, if I'm burning out, from work or from, just busyness, I can't check out of being a good dad. And the moment I do, I'm going to look back a decade from now and be like, what happened, man? I can't check out of my marriage. And I'll be honest, I can't check out of my job. I have to provide for my family. And under no context can I check out of my faith, because it's the guiding principle of all that. I can't check out of my recovery, because as soon as I relapse, all this, it shifts into a whole other world that my wife's never been exposed to, and that I pray to God my son would never be exposed to. But I'm on that. Like, I'm on that reality. I'm on the fringe of, if I relapse, I shift into a whole nother world, where principles and morals deconstruct almost simultaneously, and my character shifts into an addict. Like, once that allergy of addiction, that's what we call it in the 12-step community, is like you develop an allergic reaction where you need another drink, and you're just constantly scratching that itch per se. And I don't have that off button. As soon as I take a drink, the allergy is activated. And when you think about people who can have a drink and stop, I'm not one of those. And so when I look at my growth and development, I have to recognize, no matter what's going on around me, I have 4 phases of me that I cannot stop. I don't care if I've got complete burnout. I can't stop being a husband, can't stop being a dad, can't stop being a Christian, can't stop staying sober. Like, those 4 for me are fundamental. And so when it becomes a point of interest like that, you have to start sharpening yourself to say, okay, what is the growth and development pattern, right? Is there rest in that cycle? And how do I set my mind in such a way that this growth and development process is something that I'm not only engaged in or a part of, but I have peace in and I'm attentive to? The difference for me is I'm always going to be a dad. And when my son comes into my room and he's like, Daddy, let's play hide and seek or whatever, I'm like, either way, I'm engaging my son right there. But there's a version of me that's like scrolling media or something, and I'm just like, not now, buddy. I'm not attentive to him, right? I want to be an attentive dad. I want to be an attentive husband. I want to be an attentive Christian, and I want to be attentive to my sobriety. And it actually brings to mind this proverb from the 6th chapter of the book of Proverbs, verses 10 and 11, where, he writes, Solomon writes, a little sleep and a little slumber, and poverty will come upon you. A little rest, and poverty will come upon you. And I think about that, and I'm like, poverty isn't just in the pocketbook. Poverty can be of your spirit. Poverty can be of your mind. Poverty can be of your heart. And I think about that, I'm like, I can't give my relationship with my wife a little rest. Or my relationship with my wife is going to start to have elements of poverty. We're going to lack connection. We're going to lack intimacy. We're going to lack understanding. We're going to lack all of that. When I try to check out of my relationship with my son, a little rest, like I've already seen it before because I've seen this happen. Like he's going to stop listening as well. He's going to start testing boundaries. He's going to start getting a little rambunctious emotionally, like, screaming and stuff like that. And I realize I have to be attentive to these things so that I can maintain the produce of that. And that actually segues into another verse I want to bring to your attention is Galatians 6:7. And Paul says that God cannot be mocked. A man is going to reap what he sows. And so you think about this according to the biblical principle that Paul talks about in this 6th chapter of Galatians. Whatever you put into something is going to send it on a trajectory towards what you'll pull out of it. And so if I am putting attentiveness into my wife, into my son, into my faith, and into my sobriety, I'm going to pull out the fruit of a grown, developed, matured relationship with the given area. I would like to point you back to maybe like a real life story here. Up to 27 years old, I was completely disengaged in my life. All I did was mind altering substances, physical contact with women, and video games. And it was nothing else. Like I would rob, I would do whatever it took to make sure I was able to engage those three things. And I was so unattentive to the rest of my life that when I got sober, dude, like I had no emotional intelligence, and I'm still struggling with that, if I'm honest. It's not that I'm struggling anymore with neglect. I'm learning, and as I learn, I realize like I have no emotional intelligence. Like this is such a weak point for me. And so in that, I just realized like I haven't done anything in my life to grow and develop legitimately. And at that 27 mark, when I started getting sober, I realized that like I needed to put more focus on what I was contributing to. Am I just contributing to another level of, the newest video game? Am I just contributing to another, physical encounter with a woman? Or am I contributing to my mental understanding by watching, podcasts or TED Talks or reading books? Or am I having discussions that start turning my mind into a different direction? Am I putting myself in rooms where the narrative is about growth and development? And that's when I really started to reap the fruits of the 12-step programs. And I'm not even going to specify, like I've kind of been a part of, I would say over 4 fellowships, and in each fellowship, the differences are also what made them the same. It just looked and felt different, but the core of it was the same. For example, in step 10 of the 12-step community, it's essential that you're just continuing to take inventory. And when you're wrong, you're promptly admitting it. That's a continuous process. And as you engage it, you grow and develop. And the problems I was trying to correct yesterday are not the same problems I'm trying to correct today. And the problems I'm correcting today won't be the problems I'm correcting tomorrow, because I'm continuing to take inventory of these things. And as I take inventory, I'm bringing a subconscious thing to the conscience. And as it's in the conscience, I begin to have a greater level of self-awareness. And as I'm self-aware and trying to grow, mind you, I'm able to push into a different sphere of thought, which leads to a different sphere of action and eventually a different sphere of emotion, because I can't feel an emotion for an area I haven't entered. And I think that's really the crux of what makes this pivot between discipline and motivation really kind of staticky, is we sit around and wait to be motivated. And oftentimes I've found in personal experiences, the motivation doesn't come until the discipline teaches me why I would enjoy the thing. For example, if I'm not in the gym, never been in the gym, and then I wait to be motivated to go to the gym, I'm probably just waiting forever. I might go in and I'll run like 2 or 3 days on a cycle of like, doing chest, doing legs, doing back. And then the next thing I know, I've lost motivation and I don't show up. But when I build it on discipline, I'm like, look, I don't care. Every day I'm going to get in there. I don't even care what I do. There's a principle taught, I can't remember the name of the author, but it's called, I think the book is like The Slight Edge or something. And it's like, you just make small incremental changes. And as you do that, you start to sharpen yourself so that you can actually cut through the whole problem. Wordplay a little bit, sure. But anyhow, the thing I'm trying to say is, as you develop the discipline, just get into the gym, just get into the gym. And then you're like, hey, I'm here. I might as well work chest today. Hey, I'm here. I might as well work back today. I worked my back and my chest. Why don't I pop in on the legs right quick? And as you do that, and then you do it week 1, and then you maintain the discipline of it, showing up whether I like it or not. Week 2, showing up whether I like it or not. Week 3, I'm like, man, I feel more. I feel it. Like I can feel it in my shoulders. I can feel it in my back. I can feel it when I'm moving. And then I noticed that my chemical, like my mental chemical balance, like testosterone and all of that, it's more at an even keel. I'm less irritable. I'm less frustrated. I'm less, what have you. I'm like, man, like this is good for me. Now I have an emotion that I've grown through the discipline, and that becomes motivation. But when you try to build it from motivation towards discipline, I feel like you're doing it backwards. And so when we think about something like continuing to take inventory, we're building the discipline. And as we build the discipline, we'll start to develop the connection to the growth and development, and that will fuel the motivation. And it doesn't stop there with the 12-step community. In step 11, we're actually seeking to improve our conscious contact with God. And that's something that's different day by day. I'm seeking to improve the cognitive contact that I had with God from where it was yesterday. And it actually doesn't stop there even. In step 12 of the 12-step community, we're continuing to practice these principles in all our affairs. And so one could really narrow the last 3 steps of the 12-step program into self-improvement. I mean, it's a self-improvement process, but step 10, 11, and 12 is saying like, hey, bro, I am going to continue to take inventory. I'm going to continue to improve my contact with God. And I'm going to practice this thing that I learned through the 12 steps in everything I do. And so if you really wanted to know where I wanted you to land, like what point are you driving home? The point I'm trying to drive home is simply this: be committed to growth and development. Yeah, get your rest, dog. Like if it's Saturday and you've went like 10 days straight, take a rest day. But that's part of your commitment to growth and development. Like on that rest day, you're either A, reflecting, or B, just kind of like disconnecting, which is also cool, right? But at the same point, you got to keep in mind what we were talking about with healthy hobbies. Am I disconnecting in a way that pours life into me, or am I disconnecting in a way that shuts me down and dulls my senses? And so at the end of the day, just, man, be a better you tomorrow than you were today. And don't like set a finish line for yourself. Because if you set a finish line for yourself, you get there and then you just end up like that meme, the dude in the suit who's just like, what do I do now? I don't want to see you like that. I actually want to see your life and your purpose and the trajectory of your life, like your lifetime, recovered by Christ. And I know he's got something beautiful for you. So be blessed.